Star Wars The Force Awakens. This review contains spoilers, but if you still haven't seen the film at this point, I really don't know what to say about that. The most anticipated film of 2015 finally arrived this Christmas, and its box office success continues to pile up as weeks go by. Along with the rest of the civilized world, I too was eager to see the film and confirm or not my expectations. When J.J. Abrams was announced as the director of Episode 7, I immediately knew one thing. It would be, at the very least, a solid film. He did a wonderful job with the Star Trek reboot, and I expected nothing less with Star Wars. In fact, I knew he would have to go the extra mile given the overwhelming responsibility he had. When the first teaser popped up on the internet, I was excited. It looked great. That excitement extended to the following trailers as they came out. The film seemed to have its own identity whilst remaining loyal to the fans and to the original trilogy. The line, "Chewie, we're home," gave me goosebumps and blasted me to my childhood in an instant. The hype was very real now. So the day finally arrived, and I decided to go to a midnight screening of the film after its release to avoid the big crowds. I came out with mixed feelings. The only thing I was certain of is that it wasn't a bad film, just as I expected. But I couldn't make up my mind of whether or not it was a good film. I had mixed feelings. At the time I'm writing this review, more than 3 weeks have passed since I saw the film. I've had plenty of time to think about it and discuss it with friends. I also spent a lot of time reading reviews and watching YouTube videos about it. In my opinion, The Force Awakens is unquestionably a good film, and despite its problems, it still manages to be strong and solid and an extremely enjoyable experience. For the most part, the script is very effective and well-paced. Considering it's part of a trilogy, and this is basically the first act, Episode 7 is a very strong start, and it leaves you with just the right amount of loose ends without leaving you completely unsatisfied or frustrated. It even works as a standalone film, but luckily it's not, and it is so much stronger because of it. J.J. Abrams manages to deliver what is asked of him, but also leave his personal touch in the film. The balance between his own ideas and the demanding expectations of the public was a huge task. He passed that test with flying colors. I think the film has its own identity, but also caters to the fans. The new characters all work very well, and I think this new generation will bring at least 2 other great installments to the Star Wars franchise. Daisy Ridley's Rey surprised me, to say the least. She's a great new protagonist in this new trilogy, and Daisy's solid performance only enhances the great writing that brought this fresh new character to the Star Wars universe. Her story arc in this film alone is very well done, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for her. The same can be said about John Boyega's Finn. What a great character, and what a magnificent performance from such a talented and competent actor. Boyega's performance is close to flawless in this film. I simply adored every single scene with him. I like the idea of humanizing such an unlikely character like a stormtrooper. Not only is it original, but very clever on how it also serves as means to deliver exposition to the background of the First Order and how it operates. And all of this is done in a seamless way. Again, great writing. Kylo Ren is probably one of the most interesting characters in the film. Adam Driver delivers a fantastic performance. Unlike his counterpart in A New Hope, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren is a lot more conflicted as a character. I like how you feel he's not quite sure of who he is or what his destiny is, and how that inner conflict is, at least so far, his perdition. It is also great to see this character get even stronger once he removes his helmet for the first time while interrogating Rey. Another hats off to Adam Driver's performance. With less to do, but with no less of an impact, is obviously Poe Dameron. Oscar Isaac is wonderful to watch and brings great charisma to the character. I loved his escape with Finn and how you genuinely love this character right from the get-go. I can't wait to see what he'll bring to the table in the next 2 films. The passing of the torch, so to speak, from the original cast to these new characters works very well, and the franchise is in excellent hands. Yes, BB-8 is adorable, I didn't forget about him. The R2-D2 of this generation, no doubt. Of course, The Force Awakens is not without its problems, and one of the main issues I have with the film is its predictability at times. Out of the top of my mind, I see 2 plot points that I saw coming way too early. One was Luke only showing up at the end of the film, although I did hope he'd pop up sooner during the 3rd act showdown, even though that wouldn't have made any sense. The other was Han Solo's death. and that one I saw coming because of another problem the film has, which is the excessive callbacks to the original 1977 film, even in the structure of the script. In that structure, a key character had to die. In episode 4, it was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and in this one it was Han Solo. Luke was left alone to face his destiny, and this time around it's Rey. Not to mention, the scene itself screams out its outcome way too soon. Unlike Obi-Wan's death, which comes as a surprise and hits a much stronger emotional cue with the audience, Solo's death is slightly more gratuitous for its own good. Nevertheless, it had to happen when you consider structure. On the other hand, I have to mention what I think is one of the most clever and funny moments in the film, the Millennium Falcon reveal. It's a very small moment in the grand scheme of things, but it's so clever and original that I couldn't write this review without mentioning it. I got goosebumps and almost jumped off my seat when the camera pans to reveal the Falcon seconds after Rey dismisses it as garbage. What more could you ask from such an anticipated moment in the film? Every single person had to be wondering, when do we get to see the Millennium Falcon? And that scene delivers big time. Great writing, acting, and directing. The same cannot be said about Solo and Chewie's first appearance, and not because it wasn't good, but simply because it came at the last possible moment. When Rey and Finn are hiding in the ship and wondering who's coming in the Falcon, you do the math and think, okay, it's been too long in the film for that not to be Han Solo and Chewbacca. Other than that, the scene works, and Harrison Ford returns to his role in great form. You get to enjoy Han Solo one last time, and it's actually very heartbreaking to see Chewie reacting to his death. That brings me to Leia. I was a bit disappointed with Leia, but not because of the wonderful Carrie Fisher, but because of the lack of impact her character had on the film. I frequently got the feeling Leia was only there for marketing purposes, to get as much of the original cast as possible. Of course, I could be proven wrong in the next films, let's hope so. Luke's appearance was a great moment for me. I grew up watching Luke Skywalker fight the Empire and face his father. This character is part of my childhood and imprinted in my brain like few others in film history. It's a great way to wrap up the film and leaves you drooling for the sequels. Mark Hamill is a terrific actor, and I'm so happy to see him back in the big screen portraying his iconic role. On a side note, and although I love the sequence, I think it has one shot too many. I would have cut to the credits on a close-up of Luke and not on that circling wide shot of the two, but that's just me nitpicking. The scene is still very effective and emotionally strong. Star Wars music is part of pop culture. Everyone recognizes it, and it's amongst the best scores ever written for film. John Williams is one of the best composers in film history, and his career speaks for itself. The Force Awakens brings great new themes that enrich the already wonderful repertoire from the previous films. Rey's theme is a beautiful piece of music, and probably my favorite out of all the new themes John Williams wrote. This composer still manages to surprise me and thrill my heart after so many years. I'm already in love with this soundtrack. I'm so glad it's already sitting next to the other films in my soundtrack collection. To sum it up and avoid making this review excessively long, I want to say I think Star Wars The Force Awakens delivered and did not disappoint. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and it grew on me as days went by. I found myself watching the trailers over and over, and I can't wait to see it again. It's also a very funny film when the jokes do come up, well executed and carefully mixed in, keeping the tone and direction intact. J.J. Abrams' directing and Lawrence Kasdan's writing did a hell of a job rebooting this franchise, and I think it will only get better with the sequels. And no matter how eager I am to see the next one, I like that it's 2 years away. It doesn't feel rushed, and it allows audiences to savor and appreciate this one for some time before the next one comes out. Yes, I'm looking at you, Peter Jackson. Go watch Star Wars again and go listen to its wonderful soundtrack. Seriously, Rey's theme, it blows my mind. Speaking of Rey, do you remember that scene where she uses a Jedi mind trick to get the Stormtrooper to release her? That Stormtrooper is played by none other than James Bond himself. That's right, Daniel Craig. The Force Awakens is filled with hidden cameos. Anyway, I honestly hope you enjoyed this review and found it as interesting as I did writing and producing it for you. Have a wonderful day, and, of course, may the Force be with you.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. A Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.